And we're live. Hello. Hi Jamie. Glad you could make it. Hi Dave. This is it, guys. Hi Lucy. Sally. Hi Amy. Sally and Natalie and Rebecca. This is the one, you're all tuning in because this is the Instant Enlightenment live stream, which is great. It's going to save you a lot of trouble, isn't it? Then you can get on with going out and having some fun. Hi Sue. Here we are indeed. Really glad you could make it. Glenda. Sue. Dave, yippee. It's about time, isn't it, Dave? Come on. Sue, thank you for your mask. I wore it down the shop today. No one can hear. It's so thick that no one can hear anything when I say something. But still, needs to be done. Needs must. Nat, hello. Steve. Birgit. Georgie. Steve. Julia, Liz, Scott. Scott. My goodness, man, you're on time. Fully out on the town or something. Hi, Becky. We're out for the count, maybe. Oh. Lynn, glad you could make it. We're going to look at the Bahiya Sutta, which some of you will be familiar with, I'm sure. But I was thinking, what shall I do? I'm going to have a break from doing the live streams. We've got a week off next week. So I'm taking Sunday, Wednesday, and the following Sunday off. So this will be... The next live stream after this will be in 2 weeks. Because I need to stop going on about all this stuff. And I was a bit stuck, and I thought, well, I've got to leave people on a high. So if I call the live stream Instant Enlightenment, maybe we'll get a few more people tuning in. You never know. Hi Paul from Jeff, Maxine and friend Sally. So we got a new friend, Sally. Hello Sally. Glad you could make it. Hope this makes sense for you. Jason. Scott. Fred, fast asleep. I'm 100% focused. We'll see about that, Scott. I'm sure I can defocus you if I try hard enough. Especially when we start going through this sutta. No, it's a great sutta. It's brilliant. It's everyone's favourite sutta because what it appears to show is that you can just become enlightened just like that. Because here's this chap called Bahiya. Here's about the Buddha. Goes, sees the Buddha. The Buddha, he says, "Come on, give me a teaching," and the Buddha gives him a teaching, and then Bahiya instantly becomes enlightened, thus proving that no work is required in order to realise the true nature of reality whatsoever, and that's why it's people's favourite sutta. Julia, Bodil, Peter, Barbara. So yes, hello to you all. So the object of the exercise for me is to once again put a pin into the balloon of your spiritual delusions. It's what I do. It's my job. Because there isn't... Let's get this straight. Before we go into the sutta, let's get this straight. Ebru, hello. Ebru, I know you've read this sutta that we're going to go through. So let's just be straight from the word go. When enlightenment occurs, it occurs instantaneously. But it comes at the end of an exhaustive exploration of the true nature of reality. So, sorry to spoil it for everyone. And I want you to help me out here because I'm going to ask questions and get you to help me out and reply. So if you look at the... Simone, are you here? Yasmin, you're here. Isn't Simone here? I thought I've got something from Simone, but it's not coming up on here. you guys. Great. So, if you look at the description for this live stream, you will see a link to the Bahiya Sutta. It's not a great translation, but we can all follow it. Translations of the suttas can be hit and miss, depending on who the translator is. This is John D. Ireland. It's on the Access to Insight website. I did try to, because Roland will be worrying about this, I did try to find this sutta on Pali Audio, but you don't appear to have gone into the Kadaka at all. And this is in the Udana. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through it. So maybe some of you don't have access to the sutta, which is fine. I'm going to read it out anyway, and then we'll stop and I'll ask some questions and see if we can get a better understanding of this frankly brilliant sutta. It's one of my favourites. And it starts, "Thus have I heard. At one time the Lord was staying near Sawati in the Jeta wood at Anathapindika's monastery. At that time, Bahiya of the bark cloth was living by the seashore of Saparaka. He was respected, revered, honoured, venerated, and given homage, and was one who obtained the requisites of robes, alms, food, lodging, and medicines." Now, this is, I don't think there's a stanza or a paragraph in here which isn't important. The fact that he's called Bahiya of the bark cloth is suggestive that he was a ascetic in India, so he was a wandering spiritual mendicant who was looking to realise enlightenment, which is still very much part of Indian life. I was thinking about that the other day because I was in India in the 90s, and I was terrified of the sadhus. I don't know why I was terrified of them, but I was really scared to go and talk to them. Anyway, so the fact that he lives wearing clothes made out of bark, which suggests that he's a spiritual mendicant. He was respected, revered, honoured, venerated, and given homage, and was one who obtained the requisites of robes, alms, food, lodgings, and medicines, which is suggestive that he was indeed very well thought of. So this already takes us away from the idea that anyone can become enlightened at any time without putting any effort in. He had clearly spent many, many years practicing, doing spiritual practices. As we see, as we continue, we see some evidence of that. So now, while he was in seclusion, this reflection arose in the mind of Bahiya of the bark cloth. Am I one of those in the world who are arahants, who have entered the path to arahantship? So enlightenment is understood to be, an enlightened being is understood to be the arahant. And so he's asking himself whether he's enlightened or not. And if you remember any of my past live streams, I think the very last one I did, I was talking about how people can be asking themselves the question, well, am I or not? Well, if you're asking the question, then you're definitely not. But people who ask the question don't necessarily know that. Luckily, then a Deva, who was a former blood relation of Bahiya of the bark cloth, so that's somebody who's died, who is a relative of Bahiya, has died, understood that reflection in his mind. Being compassionate and wishing to benefit him, he approached Bahiya and said, "You, Bahiya, are neither an arahant nor have you entered the path to arahantship. You do not follow that practice whereby you could be an arahant or enter the path to arahantship." Now, the fact that Bahiya is able to talk to Devas and to hear Devas is suggestive that although he doesn't have the path to enlightenment, he did have the path to developing incredibly powerful states of concentration. And that also is really important. So to be able to have that facility, in terms of the Buddhist teaching, that facility to be able to talk to beings from other realms, that is a sign of a very developed mind It's just not a path that leads to enlightenment. Okay, so then Bahiya asks, then in the world, including the Devas, who are arahants or have entered the path to arahantship? There is Bahiya in a far country, a town called Sarwati. There the Lord now lives, who is the arahant, the fully enlightened one. That Lord Bahiya is indeed an arahant, and he teaches Dhamma for the realization of arahantship. So, okay. So then Bahiya of the bark cloth, profoundly stirred by the words of that Deva, then and there departed from Saparaka. Stopping only for one night everywhere along the way, he went to Sarwati, where the Lord was staying in the Jeta wood at Anatapindika's monastery. At that time, a number of bhikkhus were walking, that's monks, were walking up and down in the open air. Then Bahiya of the bark cloth approached those bhikkhus and said, "Where, revered sirs, is the Lord now living, the Arahant, the fully enlightened one? We wish to see that Lord who is the Arahant, the fully enlightened one." The Lord, Bahiya, they say in reply, has gone for alms food among the houses. So the custom is that you go off, when you're in the order, you go off with your alms bowl in the morning, and that's going to be your lunch. It's going to be your one meal of the day. Okay, so then Bahiya hurriedly... Now, Bahiya was profoundly stirred by the words of the Deva, and then and there immediately leaves where he's staying to find the Buddha. Then, when he finds out where the Buddha's staying, but the Buddha's not there, he hurriedly leaves that place to go and find the Buddha. So, obviously, he's got something on his mind. I think that's fairly obvious. He is in a hurry, which the reasons for which become evident later on, which is also another sign of his meditative development. Anyway, then Bahiya hurriedly left the Jeta wood. Entering Sarwati, he saw the Lord walking for alms food in Sarwati. Pleasing, lovely to see, with calm senses and tranquil mind, attained to perfect poise and calm, controlled, a perfected one, watchful with restrained senses. Well, that's an amazing description of the Buddha. On seeing the Lord, he approached, fell down with his head at the Lord's feet, and said, "Teach me Dhamma, Lord, teach me the Dhamma, Sugata." Sugata, I think, is the sublime one. I think that's what that means. So it will be for my good and happiness for a long time. Alex, glad you could make it. So, we're going through the Bahiya Sutta, Alex. Sorry, you're not down there. You're up there. I appreciate that, but your name is coming up there. Yes, instant enlightenment, Alex, guaranteed by the end of this live stream. Not. Fingers crossed. Didn't mean that. Sorry. Shouldn't have said that. That was wrong. I apologise. It's very unlikely anyone will become instantly enlightened during this live stream. Hi, Olivia. Glad you could make it. I think I'm getting a bit of end of term fever here. Anyway. So, again, Bahiya clearly identifies the Buddha. There's no faith, no doubt issue. He's full of faith. Again, it's suggestive of an extremely spiritually advanced human being. Understands who the Buddha is, understands his importance. There's no hubris there, is there? There's, "Oh, no, please tell me what I have to do," without any doubts whatsoever. Again, relating to a former live stream that I did. It's very genuine humility. Okay, teach me Dhamma, Lord, teach me Dhamma, so that it will be for my good and happiness for a long time. Upon being spoken to thus, the Lord said to Bahiya of the bark cloth, "It is an unsuitable time, Bahiya. We have entered among the houses for alms food." Okay, so I've got to remember to ask you questions. So we go through this again. A second time, Bahiya says to the Lord, It is difficult to know for certain, revered sir, how long the Lord will live or how long I will live. Maybe this is suggestive of why Bahiya is so anxious and in a hurry to meet the Buddha. Teach me Dhamma, Lord, teach me Dhamma, so that it will be for my good and happiness for a long time. And a second time the Lord said to Bahiya, it is an unsuitable time, Bahiya. We have entered among the houses for alms food. And a third time Bahiya said to the Lord, it is difficult to know for certain. Teach me Dhamma, so that it will be for my good and happiness for a long time. Okay, so why does he have to ask the Buddha 3 times before the Buddha's willing to reply? What's that about? So I'm not going to do all the work here. Can anyone tell me why that might be? Why is he forced to ask the Buddha 3 times before the Buddha's willing to give an answer? Dave. Shows how keen he is to hear the teaching. Yes. So this is a technique to show sincere interest, Steve. Yes. Alex, to show he's serious. Yes. I should definitely get you to ask me 3 times for anything. Is that about showing his determination? Yes. That it has to be worked for? Yes. Jamie, Ebru, great answers. He's testing his devotion. Amy, persistence. You're all correct, guys. So the Buddha had this sort of, it wasn't always the case, but it was, you see it a lot in the suttas, that he says, no, I'm not going to tell you anything. I should definitely do more of that. No, I'm not going to tell you. And you go, oh, please tell me. I'm really serious. The fact that this guy has just like sped from the other side of India to be with the Buddha. But yeah, absolutely, Peter, to show strong intent and sincere application. Yeah. I mean, do you really want to know? Do you really, really, really want to know? Okay, so then the Buddha, being the Buddha, has the absolute perfect teaching for Bahiya. Absolutely. I mean, this is up with giving Chula Pandaka the piece of cloth to rub. It's just way up there in terms of fabulous. To be able to match all the characteristics of personality in the individual and match what you tell them to match their character perfectly so that they have maximum ability to understand is just incredible. Okay, so this is what he tells Bahiya. Here in Bahiya, you should train yourself thus. In the seen will be merely what is seen. In the heard will be merely what is heard. In the sensed will be merely what is sensed. In the cognized will be merely what is cognized. In this way, you should train yourself, Bahiya. So what is this saying, do you think? All these live streams I've been doing on observing ultimate reality. Who's willing to give it a go? What does that mean? In the seen, there is only the seen. Who's brave enough to give that an answer? In the seen will be merely what is seen. In the heard will be merely what is heard. Now, in the sensed will be merely what is sensed. So that's the other 3 physical senses. And in the cognized there will be merely what is cognized. That's mind. So essentially you have the 6 sensory fields: seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, and mind. Ebru wins that. You don't win anything, but you're first up with non-self. Lynn, no self or no one doing the seeing. Good. Looking at ultimates, not relative reality, from Alex. There is nothing more than what occurs moment by moment. That's David. Scott, correct labelling. Definitely. David, amendment, i.e. no self. Yes. Steve. Wow, you're all going for it. You're so brave. Fantastic. Excellent. Well done, everyone. John, be mindful of phenomena with a view to insight into non-self. Gemma, hello Gemma, you're back from your holiday. Oh, yes, I did see your holiday posts. Jealous? No. Bit. Maybe. But anyway, perception. Good. Peter, there is no one or see. Liz, there's no corruption by anything else. Or what would the corruption be, though? What is it that corrupts perception? Our perception of what is truly there. Sarah, there is no seer. Oh, I see. Seer. Separate from the arising and passing of sight. Okay. Amy, remove conceptions from sensory experience. Peter, there is no one. Yes. So, which is. Yes. Okay. Thanks, Amy. I'll expand on that in a second. Peter, there is no one to see, hear, etc. Jeff, the theory of non-dependent origination. Jeff, it's actually the theory of condition-dependent origination, not non-dependent origination, but point taken. So, when something is seen, there is the object, there is the sensitive matter of the sense space of I, EYE, and there is seeing. And what the Buddha is saying is there is nothing other than, in that moment, there is nothing other than that. The perception then arises which labels what kind of object it is, shape and colour. But that's a subsequent process. So what he's saying to Bahiya is you've got to look at each of the senses, including mind. You've got to practice mindful noting and observe the truth that in the seeing there is literally just seeing. In hearing there is literally just hearing. And what is it that we normally do? We normally conceptualize the experience and think of the experience and understand the experience in terms of me seeing, me hearing. So it's not just the sense of that whether there is truly an object out there. It is that it is I that sees, it is I that hears, it's I that senses, it's I that cognizes. That's a word. So what he's telling Bahiya is you've got to look really carefully at your moment by moment experience and observe the truth that in seeing there is only seeing. There is no self besides, there is no duality. There are all the components that go to make up that moment of seeing, but that moment of seeing is there for a moment and passes away. So essentially, the Buddha isn't giving any other teaching than he normally gives. He's just put it in this sort of bite-sized package that he can then send over to Bahiya, because Bahiya apparently doesn't have very long and he's in a hurry. So what we're talking about in terms of seeing is true in terms of hearing, tasting, touching and smelling. It's also true of mind, the arising of mental objects like thoughts and perceptions. There is this conceit which is added to the experience, which is it is I who thinks, they are my memories. But when you look at the truth of condition-dependent origination, you see that these things are arising and passing away due to conditions, and there is no requirement for this extra aspect that we insist should be in there, and we keep trying to squidge it into reality when it is actually not required at all, which is the belief in an independent, separate self who is the owner, who is the who is the self which is either within that sense experience or is the owner of that experience. Simon, non-separation. I wish I'd just said that, Simon. That would have been a lot easier. Thank you. Absolutely that. And right, so then the next paragraph is, if I can find out, he then takes a bit further, and this is where the translation gets a bit. But anyway, when Bahiya, for you, in the seen is merely what is seen. So when you have removed all the misperceptions and wrong views, when you've clarified your vision of what is actually unfolding, you will see that in the seeing there is only seeing, in the thing seen there is only the thing seen, in cognizing there is merely what is cognized, there is no self apart from that. Then Bahiya, you will not be with that. When Bahiya you are not with that, then Bahiya you will not be in that. When Bahiya you are not in that, then Bahiya you will be neither here nor beyond nor in between the two. Just this is the end of suffering. Right, okay. So what's that all about? Somebody help me out with this bit, please. So in a different translation it talks about, instead of using you are not with that, I think it talks about, oh no, I'm getting confused now. No, let's not do that. So yeah, let me ask what you think first before I give you my thoughts on it. What do you think he's saying? Can anyone sum that paragraph up? If it is that there's just a moment of seeing, and you realise in that moment there is literally just a moment of seeing that's coming together due to conditions, and then it passes away, and that you start to realise that, or you have realised that every single component part of your of experience is exactly the same. There is just the arising and passing away. Firstly, where are we? Where is that happening? Because a perception that establishes our location, we realise is just another of these components arising and passing away. Oh, great, excellent, you're coming back to me, because this is the toughest paragraph. Ebru, it is not me, not mine, not the self. Okay. Becky, there is no you in what has gone before, what will happen, or what is happening now. Brilliant, Becky, yeah. John, not identifying with experience, realising non-duality as not me here, world there. Yeah, because the realisation is that so really it's about time and location, isn't it? So this is not what you discover, that what is unfolding, because there is something unfolding, what you discover is unfolding is not unfolding in time, and it's not unfolding in any particular location, because both time and location are concepts that are arising due to conditions that are giving us a sense of where we are, but it is not an absolute reality. So the discovery is that hi Kath, hi Catherine, Jamie. It is the breaking of the wheel of Paticca It most certainly is. Natalie, there is nothing other than seeing. At the moment of seeing, nothing endures. Yes, so it's seeing that this isn't occurring anywhere. Kath, perceptions are fleeting. Yes, and they are fundamental components that go to make up any experience. So we need perceptions. So there is a perception of me separate from. Oh, here we go again. So there's a perception of me as being separate from this glass of water, but when we analyse it very, very closely, we come to understand that sense of separation is false. But with seeing through the perception of separation and seeing that's false, then what you're left with is non-duality. And all concepts of time and space do is reinforce the sense of separation. And so it's the realization that although we still have the concepts of time and space, we still, in a relative sense, know where we are. I know I'm in Bradford and Avon. On another deeper level, there is the comprehension that this isn't actually occurring anywhere. Because there is no separation to establish where you are in relation to something else. So it's beyond time and space. All is one, Jeff, Maxine. Oh, I should give you the benefit for that one, Maxine. All is one. All is not dual is a better way of putting it. I am that, except there is no I and there is no that, Steve. I mean, it is the case, but it is also the case that there is no I am. Alex, maybe ways of referring to not me, not mine, not the self of me. But I think it goes further than that, because Bahiya is on the cusp, and the Buddha knows that he's on the cusp. So this is what he said. So essentially what he's saying, once you know that in seeing there is only seeing, there is no self, there is no duality, then you will come to comprehend that there is not a here or not over there. There's no up, there's no down, there's no beyond, there's no in between the two. Justice is the end of suffering, and it is, because all suffering is based on the assumption of my own separateness, and that's what gives the sense of dissatisfaction, because you are now cut off from what you truly are, which is the whole. You're not, and we're separating ourselves off and saying, well, there's this little bit here which is absolutely separate from everything else, and that's just not true in any absolute sense. And relatively, we can play with that sense of separation and have fun and live out life, but you realise that it's all arising and passing away. There is nothing which persists through time. You realise that where there's that, the true realisation of emptiness, the true realisation of non-separation, there is no longer that sense of little me, oh no, against the world, and all that implies. Okay. Now, through this brief Dhamma teaching of the Lord, you see how difficult it is to describe, and yet the Buddha sums it up so eloquently and so perfectly. And then you try to do a commentary on that, and it just doesn't sound anywhere near as good, frankly. Now, through this brief Dhamma teaching of the Lord, the mind of Bahiya of the bark cloth was immediately freed from the taints without grasping. So the taints are what we call the cankers. So they are the fundamental corruptions of mind, attachment to sense desire, attachment to becoming, attachment to views, and attachment to ignorance. And they, with the total comprehension of non-duality, the total comprehension of emptiness, the basic fundamental condition for the arising of those taints has been eliminated. So it's just like the moment you see it, it's like it's gone, and you know that they've gone as well. That's the thing. You absolutely know that the fundamental cause of suffering is no longer exists, because the condition for it existing has been eliminated. Hence why it is breaking free of the wheel of Paticca Samuppada, as Jamie points out. And there's no confusion about it. So this whole idea, well, am I not? Am I not? I don't know what that sound was, but essentially it means you never knew, you didn't know, and now you know, and you comprehend it in a way which you realise what it is everyone's been trying to tell you, and that you always misunderstood, and now it's so obvious. Okay. So, through this brief Dhamma teaching of the Lord, the mind of Bahiya of the bark cloth was immediately freed from the taints without grasping. Then the Lord, having instructed Bahiya with this brief instruction, went away. Not even a pat on the back, not even a well done. He just walked away. Well, he's sorted. Okay. This is the sad bit. Not long after the Lord's departure, a cow with a young calf attacked by him. Oh, before we get on to that, I should say that this is the point, that all of Bahiya's, whatever it was that Bahiya was practicing before he met the Buddha, couldn't enlighten him, but was clearly an important supporting condition, because it gave him the focus and the clarity and the sustained observation of his experience as the Buddha was talking, which enabled him to see the truth. So whatever it was that he'd been doing before had brought about an extremely powerful mind, a powerful mind that meant that he could talk to beings from other dimensions, but also to know that his time on this planet was very brief, and that there was this final thing that he had to do. And we get in the sutta, it's then explained that not long after the Lord's departure, a cow with a young calf attacked Bahiya of the bark cloth and killed him. Which, yeah, it's not a great way to go. I mean, I'm sure he didn't care at that point. He's just become enlightened. But it's not a great way to go, is it? I mean, anyway, let's not... Is that a great... It's not a great way to go. Let's not dwell on it too much. When the Lord, having walked for alms food in Sawati, was returning from the alms round with a number of bhikkhus, on departing from the town, he saw that Bahiya of the bark cloth had died. I don't know why I want to smile. There's nothing funny about that at all. I don't know why I'm smiling. Seeing this, he said to the bhikkhus, the monks, "Bhikkhus, take Bahiya's body, put it on a litter, carry it away and burn it, and make a stupa for it. Your companion in the holy life has died." "Very well, revered sir," these bhikkhus replied to the Lord. Taking Bahiya's body, they put it upon a litter, carried it away and burned it, and made a stupa for it. Then they went to the Buddha, prostrated themselves and sat down to one side. Sitting there, those monks said to the Lord, "Bahiya's body has been burnt, revered sir, and a stupa has been made for it. What is his destiny? What is his future birth?" And can I just say, how on earth can anyone reading this, going back to a previous live stream that I did, how can anyone reading this sutta believe that the Buddha never taught rebirth? When I suggest that maybe rebirth is fundamental to the Buddha's description of reality and it's baked in to the whole of his teaching, it's not proof of that. So, what is his destiny? What is his future birth? Because Bahiya of the bark cloth was a wise man. He practiced according to Dhamma, even for that very short, brief period of time. He did not trouble me by disputing about Dhamma. Well done, Bahiya. That's the way to go. Because Bahiya of the bark cloth has attained final Nibbana. So he was completely enlightened. Amazing. So even though the Buddha got him to ask 3 times, the Buddha's saying, no, he was never a trouble. He was never a trouble. He took my guidance, he applied it, he saw for himself. The whole teaching in a nutshell. Then, on realizing its significance, the Lord uttered on that occasion this inspired utterance: "Where neither water, nor yet earth, nor fire, nor air gain a foothold, there gleam no stars, no sun sheds light, there shines no moon, yet there no darkness reigns. When a sage, a Brahman, has come to know this for himself through his own wisdom, then he is freed from form and formless, freed from pleasure and from pain. This inspired utterance was spoken by the Lord also, so I did hear. Right. So, what does this stanza, these two stanzas mean? So it's reiterating that Nibbana is beyond all our attempts to conceptualize and delineate. It's neither this nor that. So where neither water nor yet earth nor fire nor air gain a foothold, there gleam no stars, no sun sheds light, there shines no moon, yet there no darkness reigns. So he's saying it's not nothingness. It's beyond. It's not just simply the absence of. People fall into the trap of thinking that enlightenment is somehow an annihilation, but it's not. At all. You still completely comprehend the world. Think about it. In order to know that Nibbana is beyond stars, beyond the sun, beyond the moon, beyond fire or air, beyond water, beyond earth, four great elements, you have to be able to conceptualize those things. So it's not the mere absence of those things. To put it in another way, it is seeing through those things. It's seeing the inherent emptiness of what we conventionally understand the world to be. When a sage, a Brahman, has come to know this for himself through his own wisdom, so no one can enlighten you, you enlighten yourself through the concerted, sustained observation of the true nature of your experience, then he is freed from form and formless. So it's beyond mind and matter, freed from pleasure and from pain. See, because both pleasure and pain exist only conditionally and arise and pass away. And even with things like truly Nibbana, because even things like, if we separate out even things like a visible object, the sense base of eye and seeing, we're still splitting up and delineating. Now we're doing that at that level in order to see that you can't have one without the other. You can't have seeing if there's no sense base. You can't have seeing if there's no object to be seen. And the same way with pleasure and pain, you can't actually separate out pleasure and pain from the infinite net of conditionality. So pleasure doesn't exist separate from other things, pain doesn't exist separate from other things. So pleasure and pain actually have no substantial existence. If I can put it like that. Okay. So I'm coming to the end of my spiel. What do you make of this? So I've gone a bit wibbly. What am I asking? Yeah. What do you think of this? What does it conjure up for you? How does it make you feel? I mean, I love those stanzas. It sums up the entirety of conditioned existence. And shows that none of it has any absolute. I mean, this is something I've talked about on Wednesday evenings and asked you, in a talk before the meditation. It's like where you walked up the hill or you walked down the hill to reach the centre. And on that walk there would have been sights and sounds and tastes, probably not, smells. You might have polo mint in your mouth or something. There'll be tactile sensations, there'll be thoughts, there'll be feelings, there'll be all kinds of stuff going on. But what now persists? And you realise that nothing in those experiences persists. The more you note the six sensory, all the components that go to make up the six sensory fields, you realise that it's all transient, and that nothing from that experience is in this experience, and that's telling you exactly the same thing. Okay, Jamie, great encouragement to think Buddhism, but practice Buddhism. Yeah, well, you can't think your way there. That was a great thing. Bahiya understood that, didn't he? He didn't think it through. He wasn't there thinking, well, the Buddha was. He wasn't thinking, what's this guy going on about? He was absolutely, and that's why you need the humility, because the humility means that's what allows the open communication. So the Buddha was, and I've had this, that I've looked back at things that I have said. Like I've done a talk on a Wednesday night, and everyone agrees after the talk that it made sense, and then I've gone and read the transcription of it. And I think, how on earth did anyone understand that? It barely makes any sense. And it's because you're not just picking up the words; you're picking up the meaning that the words are trying to convey. There is mind-to-mind communication. The words are just filling in the gaps almost. So in this incredibly powerful conversation, it's actually really going on, 95% on the mental level, and 5% is being communicated through the words. John, it's inspiring as an incredibly potted version of the teaching, and it feels possible. See, it depends which direction you take it. Clearly, Bahiya had developed his powers of concentration to an incredible degree. So he was essentially doing samatha, and at the very end, he did the vipassana. The vipassana is always done out of fixed meditations like the jhanas. It has to be your ordinary experience that you're looking at. So he was there, as the Buddha described what he had to do, he was instantaneously doing it, which was just paying exquisite attention to the truth of immediately unfolding experience, and clearly seeing that there was nothing of substance in any of it. Not to think about the teaching, Jamie. Yeah. Well, there does have to be a certain amount of thinking about it, and that's what we're doing now, isn't it? But I think the idea is that then you take the inspiration from what we talk about, and yeah, absolutely, just pay attention. If anyone can just, you know what to look at, and you just keep that noting continuous, you would all become enlightened. Sally, my laptop died in the middle. I hope it wasn't gored by a bull. It seems unlikely, your neck of the woods, that sort of thing would happen, but maybe. But what I heard was so inspiring. Well, hopefully we'll be able to watch it back. But it's good that your laptop died, because that is a demonstration of transience. I shouldn't laugh. It's not bad. It's not a good thing when a laptop dies. Natalie, I feel I must keep watching the Ultimates again and again, because this man was so ready and must have done such a lot of work. Yes, he must have done. There's no way. There's no... You imagine somebody who's absolutely got no interest in the Buddhist teaching whatsoever. Got no... You know, it's just, I don't know, on their way down to the pub or whatever, to watch the football or whatever. And you go up to them and you go, in the scene is merely what is seen. They'll go, oh, whoa, who is this man? Get him away from me. Or woman. You know? In order to comprehend, you think how we're struggling to comprehend what the Buddha is actually saying. You know, for Bahiya to be right there and able to recognize it so clearly. Amy, that is not an elementary question by any means, and you're absolutely right to ask it. Is Nibbana outside of conditioned phenomena? Yes, I shouldn't have done that. Yes, it necessarily is, because it is the transcendent understanding of conditioned and conditioning phenomena. Yeah. So Nibbana, all conditioned and conditioning phenomena arise and pass away. Nibbana neither arises nor passes away. Liz, I find this sort of very motivating to keep practicing, because it is possible. It's so possible. It's so possible. And if you go far enough, you burn your bridges. You think, well, I can't go back to not knowing things are transient, so I just have to take this the whole way. So absolutely. Ebru, how are we doing for time? Oh, we're fine. I've got a meditation I need to go and take, so that's not for another 10 minutes. Ebru, I want to go and meditate and wouldn't mind being killed by a cow if I get enlightened. Silly perhaps, I guess, feeling so inspired. Yeah, honestly. I mean, it's a terrible thing to say, but one of the things I said first things I said after I'd finished the training was, you know, it's just like, if I die, just stick this corpse in a... Sorry, words have left me. Just chuck my body in the dustbin or something. Go off and just go off, do whatever you like. Don't worry about me. Lucy, it reinforces the constant feeling of there's work to be done. Oh. Well, yeah. Maxine, simplicity itself. Yeah, I was talking to my teacher and friend, Alan, today, and he's very well. And I was talking about my retreat and everything I was getting wrong on my retreat. And no, but he was very inspiring. You know, and I was pointing out, and I hope I made this clear in the last live stream, where I have made it clear since that retreat, that actually I realise now how much I learned, and it's incredible. And what's happening is it's just becoming simpler and simpler. The knowledge and understanding of what I have to do is becoming simpler and simpler. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's becoming simpler. It's like, oh, I see what I have to do now. I always knew, but in practice it just becomes simpler and simpler. And really, at the end of the Vipassana training, I was doing what I'd always done, but instead of having all this stuff that I need to see, I was looking at it going, check, 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 yeah, check, check, everything, internally, externally, gross, subtle, near or far, all of it was seen and checked off to be, yeah, transient, unsatisfactory, no self in any of that. So it does simplify. Peter, this concept can make feel a bit alarmed, to be honest, because there is no frame of reference anymore. Because is no one or nothing to have a frame of reference to. That is that is the ego projecting what it thinks it will be like not to be there. So you can only have a sense of alarm. You cannot be enlightened and have a sense of alarm about enlightenment. It's only the idea of it, based on the affirmation of the self, and thinking, well, that means I won't know I won't know where I am, and I won't have any point of reference. And no, because you've still got the conventional universe is still there. It's just it's not there. So any question of alarm about point of reference is just the self reinforcing itself. To be honest. So don't be sad. Somebody's giving you a tearful emoji, and I don't think that's not quite right. We need here. I'll give you a nice care emoji, Peter. There you go. Alex, those last few verses make my hair stand on end. Those that we have remaining, Alex, yes, inspiring and motivating. Good. Catherine, as Peter mentioned, the frame of reference isn't there, and that for me feels quite astonishing. And yet, when are we at our happiest? When we are not our happiest, when we are at our least concerned, when is it in our lives we're not suffering? It's when we're absorbed in something. And you can be absorbed in something, and someone can come up to you and say something to you, and you're not even aware that they're talking to you. You've lost all frame of reference, and yet there is no concern whatsoever. Just saying. So I'll give you a little care thing as well. Take care. But you're fine. I mean, let's be honest, there are some tough times on the Vipassana path, because the ego self-view wants to re-establish itself, and it will do it in any way that it can. I'm running out of time here. But that's what the teacher's there for, is to help you get through it. Birgit, maybe the Buddha getting Bahiya to ask 3 times was about getting him out of the rush of trying to find the Buddha and into the best place to listen. Fair point. Getting into focus. Scott, very encouraging and motivational. All your live streams are. Thank you very much. Georgie, practice. Yeah, with enthusiasm, with interest, with humour, not taking yourself terribly seriously. I think that's the way to go. Rebecca, I'm feeling baffled. Bahiya was primed to receive the teaching through having done shed loads of samatha training, which isn't our route. So I'm not finding it easy to connect to. Okay. But what's different between what the Buddha says to Bahiya and any instruction that you've heard at the House of Inner Tranquillity, Rebecca? Georgie, it sounds so simple, self gets in the way. Yes. It's self-view that complicates everything. But you have to go through the complex to reach the simple. Yeah. I'm going to give Rebecca a heart there. I'm getting frivolous because it's almost half term. Giving a bit of loving kindness there, Rebecca. Amy, thank you. The live stream's so helpful as usual. Until next stream. Indeed. Yeah, I'm going to have to quit, guys, because I've got to take the last meditation of the evening. Anda's on retreat this week, so I need to be there. Sarah, thanks for the Pali Canon, making it so interesting and accessible, inspirational. Thank you, Paul. That was truly inspirational. I hope you enjoy your week off, and I hope you get your laptop working, because that can't be fun, not having your laptop. I mean, how will you update Facebook page? Rebecca, not at all. Barbara, hope you have a restful week. I've been advised to get out on my bike, get some sunshine. I'll try that. Alex, great to reconnect with the suttas. Many thanks for the insights. Sue, thanks so much. Have a great break. Thank you. Lucy, I will endeavour to have a good week off. Got to make sure I fill up my days with doing things properly. This is the problem with not having a partner. When you're single, you haven't got somewhere there saying, come on, let's go and do such and such. But it's a small price to pay for the freedom that you get. I'm just saying, pluses and minuses to everything. Jamie, thank you, Paul. The Enlightenment hasn't kicked in yet, but I will wait a while. Oh, we're having a chat on Skype tomorrow, Jamie, so we got another chance. It won't happen, though. Okay, guys, thank you for all your comments. Thank you for all your contributions, Edbury. Thank you for your contributions. I sincerely hope that you're not killed by a cow anytime soon. Julia, sorry, glad you could make it. Simone, thinking about you. Peter, glad you could make it. Liz, really inspiring out. Thank you. I will enjoy. Steve, so glad you enjoyed the live stream. Julia, have a great week. Running's it's tough, isn't it? I've got all the gear, but I might take the bike out. You buy a bike and then you leave it and you don't actually use it. It's ridiculous, isn't it? So I should really get the bike out. Peter, I don't think... Look, if any of you guys are going to go out and try to get yourself run over by a cow in the hope that that enlightens you, I think that you haven't quite understood this sutta. I mean, give it... Peter, I'm not telling you what to do. You can give it a go and then report back to us whether that was successful or not. John, I've got that being said to me right now. Oh, mate. Pluses and minuses, what can I say? Alright, guys, I've got to get off. So, yeah, sorry, it won't be around until Wednesday week, second week of August. And then we'll reconnect then and carry on, because what else are we going to do while we wait for the second wave to happen? Bike is the way, zipping through the increasing B on A traffic jams. Yeah, we've got lots of one-way systems going on in Bradford and Avon at the moment, so the quicker I can get out into the countryside. Oh, I wish they'd flatten the countryside, though. That would make riding a bike easier. Government, eh? Anyway, I'm rambling. So, I'll speak to you again soon, guys. Keep practicing.